Hello, I'm Julian VanDrunen.
And I'm Casey Whisler. Welcome to TalkNado. Here in the show today we have two RB teachers, Mrs. Marelli and Mr. Turk.
Later on in the show, we'll have a representative from CatNap from the Heart here with a cat for us up for adoption. And we'll also be doing RB at the Movies, where we show you some trailers and give you our opinions on some upcoming movies. But first, we have Tim from the zoo. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
All right, Tim, so we've heard you had some animals to show us today.
We brought a couple for you, yeah. We wanted to start off with a Boa Constrictor. Paul, one of our animal care specialists here, is going to hand off Slinky here. Hopefully we'll get him all. Yeah, Slinky is a male Boa Constrictor. This animal is beautiful, obviously.
Yeah.
The coloration you can see here is just a magnificent animal that lives in Central and South America. So this is a Boa Constrictor. It's not venomous. I wouldn't be handling it this way if it was venomous, but it's not without teeth. It has quite a few teeth that line the upper and lower parts of its jaw, and those teeth are used to kind of grab onto anything that it catches so that it can constrict around it and basically suffocate it and then eat it.
Wow. So does he have any other adaptations like that?
Well, yeah, you can see it right now. He's flicking his tongue out. That forked tongue helps him to sense chemicals in the environment and kind of find prey. That fork allows him, kind of like your ears, it can know left from right, so it can sense direction of where the prey is, as well as some specialized kind of thermal scales on the front of its face that can detect the heat signature of the animal, so it helps it to hunt, because it's a night hunter.
So you said it has teeth. Typical snakes usually only have fangs. So how many teeth does this guy have?
No, quite a few. I think there's probably 60 or more teeth in there.
Wow.
And they're constantly being replaced. They don't replace all the time because they want to be able to have teeth in all parts of their mouths to get a good grip on an animal they're about to coil around.
And how many teeth does this guy go through typically in his life?
It's a constant throughout its life. This animal will live probably 15, 20 years, and each and every week a tooth might be lost. It depends on how it hunts. The more it hunts, or the more difficult the catch is, they could lose teeth as well.
All right, so you were talking about his prey. What does he normally eat?
Well, these animals will pretty much hunt everything they can catch. So small mammals, rodents, birds, bats is a favorite for some of these animals. They'll actually sit outside of caves and wait for a bat to come by or be in a tree and actually pull it right out of the air. So they're quite fast. At the zoo, we feed them mostly rodents. They don't have to kill them, they're already dead, but it helps them, they'll eat them as they need to. And it takes them about 6 days to digest any meal that they take in.
So does he have any predators?
A larger snake might be, larger reptiles might take them. Biggest predator is probably man. These animals are still hunted for their meat, for their skins, just out of persecution because they don't want them around. But in South America, a lot of these animals are kind of domesticated, so they're let around the house to keep rat populations down inside of houses.
Is there any other cool facts you have on this guy?
Wow, not really. It's a big animal. This animal is about 4 or 5 feet long. They can get up to 10 or 12 feet. Biggest Boa Constrictor they found was about 18 feet long, which is really much larger than you would expect. Here in this area and in Chicago, it's actually illegal to own a constricting snake over 6 feet long. So, while a lot of people use these as pets, so you got to be careful and watch the local laws.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you said you have another animal for us?
We do, yes. I'll hand the snake back off to Paul here. Thank you, Slinky. There you go.
Thank you very much,
Stuck
Slinky.
around my wrist.
Slinky.
So we're going from the reptile world to the avian world, the bird world, and here's Craig with, hi Dakota, a beautiful bird called the red-tailed hawk. Dakota lives over at our Ambassador Animal Building. You can see her throughout the year. And this is an animal you'll see in Chicagoland area all the time. This animal is probably the most widely dispersed bird of prey. It can go all the way up to Alaska in the summertime and all the way down into South America. So the animals in Alaska and Canada will migrate south for the winter, but if you're driving around in your car near an open field, near a stand of trees, look up in the sky, you'll see an animal doing a slow circle, and that's usually a red-tailed hawk.
Wow. So how much do these red-tailed hawks normally weigh?
Well, they look bigger than they really are. They have hollow bones, so that helps them with their flight, obviously. If the lighter you are, it's easier to fly. So this animal is probably about 3 pounds, so the average hawk is about that size. They don't get much bigger than that. A dog this size would weigh about 10 pounds, so you can see the difference in the structure of the animal.
And the density of them, yeah.
Right.
What does this guy usually eat for such a big bird?
Well, again, they're good at rodent population control. They'll eat rats and other small voles around the area. They'll capture small reptiles too. They'll sit up there doing their scan. They have great vision. They can see probably 7 times better than we can. So they're up there, kind of cruising around. They find an animal. They do a stoop down, slowly grab that animal and eat it using those big talons to catch the animal.
Nice. Does he have any other adaptations or cool facts?
Other than eyesight and his speed, you can see the coloration. Now these animals, again, are widely dispersed across North America, but their colors can change. They have different color morphs, as they call them. So they can be very pale colored. A very famous bird in New York City that lives near Central Park is called pale male. He's very kind of low in color, but out west they get a little bit darker. Up northwest they get even darker than that.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for coming
You're
in
welcome.
with these animals today, but we're going to have to stop you there. Thank you.
Okay.
We're going to go to a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to TalkNado. Here we have Mrs. Marelli, the choir director and play director here at RB.
Hi, Casey.
Now, Mrs. Marelli,
Julian.
you're directing The Great Gatsby here. Very,
Yes.
very famous book, very famous movie. How do you think you're representing it?
I think it's very true. The reason I chose the play was because it was such a good adaptation of the novel. Much of the language is the same, nothing's changed, no characters have been changed or added.
So you think it's more closely related to the book than it is to the movie?
Yes, I think so. It's very accurate with the book.
So what other productions have you done here at RB?
Well, I think I have, this spring will be my 17th musical.
Wow.
And last year I directed Our Town, so that was the first time I ever directed straight play without music. Wow. Although I did add a little music.
Well, and why did you choose Gatsby of all the plays you could have done?
I thought it would appeal to our student body, and it did. I've always had a fascination with that era, with the music and the clothing and everything about the 20s.
There's been a lot of buzz about the play itself, and
Good.
It's been very critically acclaimed. Last night actually was the opening show.
It was.
Opening night.
It was.
How much have you been doing to kind of hype up the show?
Well, not enough, never enough, because we're so worried about other things like finishing the set and painting everything and making sure that and performing. So I always feel like our publicity fails a little bit, but we've done the best we can.
Yeah, so could you just tell us a little bit about the costumes or makeup involved in this? I know there's some complicated 20s costumes
Yeah,
in this.
the costumes are beautiful. We rented some, and some were pieced together from clothing that we found at thrift stores and Goodwill and people's closets, and it's amazing how true to the 20s they really are.
So you're not only a director, but you're a magician, kind of putting all these clothes together, all these kids.
I didn't really do the clothing too much. Mrs. Marshall and Mr. and Mrs. Nye did most of the costuming. They did a
And
great job.
how much manpower do you think has gone into the show? How many people do you think have helped?
Well, we have nearly 30 in the cast, probably 15 to 20 on crew. As I said, Mrs. Marshall is the assistant director. Mr. Weishauer built our set, and along with Max Hoadley, one of our students. Mr. McConnell is the auditorium director. So it takes a village.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Really.
about 55 people. That's a big show.
It takes a lot of people.
Yeah, so this cast, in relation to some of the other shows we've done here at RB, this cast is relatively small. Do you think there is advantages to having a smaller cast over a larger ensemble?
Well, for a straight play, it's really a big cast because most plays that you read have 5 to 8 characters. So to find one with 12 characters plus an ensemble was quite a feat. And really, I wanted to find a show where lots of people could be involved.
So there has to be lots of research and stuff that goes into picking a play or picking a musical. So what are the credentials?
First of all, that it's quality. Second of all, that it's something our students can learn from. And thirdly, something that they would be interested in auditioning for.
Definitely. It always
So-
has to have a message or something that the students can always relate
Well,
to.
I don't know. I think F. Scott Fitzgerald did a pretty good job with the book. And did you know it's the 90th anniversary of the publication of
Really?
So
The
it's the
Great
perfect
Gatsby?
time to perform
It
the
really
play,
was.
yeah.
It really was. 1925 it was published.
So do you have any information on show times and opening?
I think I know it. I think I know it by
Just
heart.
a little bit.
So we opened last night, and
Right.
we have a show tonight at 7:30 in the auditorium, and tomorrow night, Saturday, at 7:30.
Wow.
Could you tell us a little bit about opening night? How did it go?
Opening night was good. We had a little bit of a rough beginning where our board decided not to play. So the curtain opened, and the music did not play. And so we closed the curtain and crossed our fingers and, you know, did a little magic, and it did. And then
Perfect.
after that, it went off without a hitch. It was fine.
Do you have any other hopes for tonight and tomorrow's show, or maybe some worries?
No worries. I would like it to be perfect tonight. Do you think that's possible?
I think that's great.
With you directing it, of course it will be. All right, we're going to have to stop you there, and thank you very much.
Thank
we're going to have to
you.
go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to TalkNado. Here in the studio, we have Mr. Turk here to talk to us about his time in the Navy. Mr. Turk, how you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
All right, Mr. Turk. So tell us, when did you first join the Navy?
I joined. I actually signed up when I was 18. I went to school, to college for my freshman year, and then I took my sophomore year off and did my training.
You went to boot camp and all that.
Yeah, I went to boot camp in Orlando in January, which wasn't too bad, and then I spent about a year and a half just doing different schools, getting trained in my Navy job.
And once you finished all that, where did they send you?
I got done and I went back to school to
Excellent.
finish. Yeah, back to U of I to finish my degree.
Do you think your time in the Navy benefited you in your studies?
I think so. I definitely learned some discipline. I don't think I was quite mature enough to go away to school when I was 18, so it definitely helped me mature a bit.
Yeah. So can you tell us about your time with an aircrew submarine?
I spent about a year and a half learning how to be part of an air crew, looking for submarines using radar and sonobuoys, which are kind of like underwater microphones.
Wow. And is that kind of scary for you, being underwater?
Well, I was in the air, so
Oh,
I
you
was
were-
part of the flying Navy, not the
Not the Sea
submarine
Navy,
right?
is the
Yeah.
Air Navy. And can you tell us about your time in the Army, too? You've actually been in the Army.
Yeah, I actually changed over to the Army after being in the Navy for a little bit. And I went from being part of an air crew, part of a flight crew, to being a scout. So I went from being in an airplane to marching around in the woods.
How was that transition? Like, was there any difficulties you had?
I had to go to one school. It was a two-week camp in California. It wasn't too bad. It's actually quite common to change branches. I
Do you have any
realized.
fun stories from that camp?
Uh,
I mean, I'm sure the Army is a little difficult, not really fun, but anything
yeah, we
you
got
took
lost
from
in
it?
the woods one night. It was so dark the night vision didn't work.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so I slept next to a tree. Had
That's solid.
crazy dreams.
I don't imagine that's a very good cuddle buddy.
No, it ended up raining that night. It was pretty cold, and I kind of slept on a tree.
Oh, that's really fun.
Do you have any stories about members of your scout platoon?
I got to be really good friends with a lot of those guys. Some of them are still in. Some of them made careers out of it. There's one story. The guys were in Hawaii, and they were doing some maneuvers at night in the jungle, and a guy walked into a spider web, and the spider kind of rested on his face. It was what they call a jungle spider. So
It was a big one, huh?
big, yeah, about the size of a dinner plate. Yeah.
Wow.
And why didn't you pursue, the Army instead of what you do now here at RB?
When I first joined, I thought I wanted to be a pilot, and so that's one reason I joined. Once I got in, I realized it necessarily wasn't a career option for me, and then I went back to the civilian world. And
It's going to help you figure some stuff out?
yeah,
That's good.
absolutely.
So did your time there help you in your teachings at all? Like, do you apply any of the virtues you learned?
I think how I deal with people. I think the kids think I have some special skills. I think I feel I'm fairly organized and fairly disciplined. And
Do you think any of that discipline you learned kind of helps you with, keeping kids in order here?
it helps. I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Not for them anyway.
No.
So you were a rank E4 specialist.
Yeah.
How'd you earn that?
Just time in service. You kind of start out at the bottom as an E1, and just over a period of time, you kind of bump up until you get to E4, and then from that point on, you would take a sergeant's exam. But I got out before that.
So what's the difference between like E1 and E4?
Responsibilities, pay. You get paid a little more. It's the further you get up in the chain of command, you get a little bit more responsibility.
Nice. So could you tell us a little bit about the enemy forces you guys were facing there?
Well, I was, fortunately, I was never in combat. I was lucky enough to avoid that. I was in kind of between the Gulf War and the invasion of Iraq. So everything that we did was for training. So it was always kind of our friends that were out there as the enemy forces.
Wow, it's just the little, play fights and whatever.
Yeah. Simulations.
That's good. And so, is there anything that sticks with you that you learned from there that, like, now, not only in teaching but in your own life?
I did some really cool training exercises. I still have a lot of those guys that I was in with. I still talk to from time to time. So I guess that idea of bonding or camaraderie that you get from the military, that's so powerful.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to have to stop you there and go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to TalkNado. Here we have Tiffany, a representative from CatNap, with a cat to talk to us about today.
Hi, this is Pepper. She's for adoption.
Wow. And how old is Pepper?
Just a few months.
Just a few months old. Where did you find her?
Actually, the story behind Pepper is quite emotional. So that would be a story for an adoption.
For
Conversation,
someone adopting
yeah.
her. Do you have a lot of, sad, or emotional, I guess, stories for a lot of the animals there at CatNap?
Actually, the reason we name it From the Heart is because it's an organization that really feels and reaches out to the community for adoptions, and also for, we're very good at helping people in need who have animals that they also can't care for, and bringing an animal into their home.
Yeah. So you don't just help the animals, you help the people too?
Definitely. We're looking for more people to come to us as well, to get involved as well with the animals. And I mean, how can you deny a face like that?
Exactly. People and animals, it's a community effort to just kind of, stay afloat sometimes.
It really is. And
so how does the adoption process work if someone were to want to adopt Pepper, per se?
great question. All you have to do is come on in with whoever you're adopting, cat, whoever wants to adopt. They will fill out an application and bring the cat in, see how they do with the person who wants to adopt, and make sure that everything goes well in that process. If there's children or if there's other individuals in the house, they also like to come in so we can introduce the cats, just to make sure we want everybody to meet their new family member.
Right. It's a very emotional time, especially for the animal, having to meet new people, and
Yes.
sometimes you never know who you're going to get.
Definitely.
For the animal and for the people.
So how much does an adoption normally cost?
Well, we're having a feline frenzy event, which is a slightly smaller adoption rate, depending on which cat and all these other idiosyncrasies. I do encourage you to check out our Facebook and like us and share our stories, and also come in and meet with the cats and get involved with adoption.
Of course, yeah.
Can you tell us where CatNap from the Heart is located, for those who don't know?
Oh, it's actually in your town at 1101 Beach, which is a town over from Brookfield LaGrange Park.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. Is there any other stores you guys have for those who aren't close by?
Actually, it's really convenient to Chicago. It's only about 30-minute drive, and we're centrally located to and from Schaumburg as well, and from all the western suburbs. So it's a very great and simple way. We have a free parking as well, and we are open from Tuesday through Friday, 12 to 5. Saturday, 10 to 3, Sunday, Monday, closed.
Oh, just to give the cats a day off, huh?
Of course.
So If you were to want to adopt an animal, I mean, is it a long, convoluted process?
Actually, compared to the other no-named shelters, it's so much a better experience. What I do see in other shelters is they, don't let you go and see with a cat. You have to wait. You have to fill out like a 4-page questionnaire. And we really care about these animals, getting them homes, and we really care about, getting them involved with the right owner. So there is no segmentation for that type of process.
Definitely. It's a brand new family member, so you got to make sure they're special.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. It was great
Thank
talking
you.
to
It's been very great. So check them out on Facebook, and if you have time, definitely go into the store and see Pepper or some other cats. But we're going to have to go to a quick commercial break, so we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to TalkNado. We're going to be introducing our new segment here today, RB at the Movies. Now, we're going to be looking at some trailers today, and we're going to give you our opinions of these movies based on those trailers. First, starting with the up-and-coming movie Creed. Let's take a look.
You're not built for this. These boys coming here, they gotta fight for life. People die in the ring. Your daddy died in the ring. I don't know him. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I've been fighting my whole life. It's not a choice for me. Every punch I ever thrown's been on my own. Nobody showed me how to do this. I'm ready.
Sick eyes from the nose pressure. Actually snip zip ties on the protesters. The 6 wives in the fry of a mold weather. Automatic caviar bar out in Odessa. Dirty needles breaking all the old records. 100 hoes, 1 shovel, and some old treasure. Old seat use thief as a gold tester. Finger rolls, finger waves, concept from the old numbers.
This picture's from the 10th round of the first fight, right? I heard about a 3rd fight between you and Apollo. Behind closed doors. Is that true?
How do you know all this?
I'm his son.
Wear gloves for the reason why I gave time. Scared thugs going crazy in the cage box. Looking at the world through the TV, a day room, rapping over beats. They made electric chairs for us down day. Last meal, storm pills for them to try and stay. Death row like Suge in the lake pot. Maybe he could build a tunnel by the A block.
A great fighter once said, it ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Now, Creed is the 7th installment in the Rocky series and is actually a spin-off movie. It is about Adonis Johnson, played by Michael B. Jordan, who's actually the son of Apollo Creed. If you've seen the other Rocky movies, he's one of the fighters that actually fought Rocky Balboa, who's also in this movie, but still played by Sylvester Stallone. And the general consensus there is that they're 2 boxers and like, hey, you want to fight? So they fight. Now, Rocky sees Apollo in Adonis, and I think that's why their feud kind of ignites a little more. And based on the movie and the trailer itself, the people in it, I think it's going to be a great film, although the plot may be a little convoluted and too closely related to some of the other ones. So, I don't know, just take it with a grain of salt.
All right, the next movie that we're going to be reviewing is Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, which is the newest installment of the famous Star Wars franchise. Let's take a look.
I was raised to do one thing, but I've got nothing to fight for.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
calling to you.
So this movie takes place 30 years after defeating the Galactic Empire, and Han Solo and his allies face a new threat from the evil Kylo Ren and his army of stormtroopers. The Force Awakens is set approximately 30 years after the events of the last Star Wars movie that came out. Harrison Ford is reprising his role as Han Solo, as well as Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker and Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. We also have new characters in the movie, which I'm excited to see personally as a Star Wars fan. I'm also excited to see it because I want to see how this new director and this new whole production team can like bring new life to the Star Wars franchise. I want to see how Disney can put a new spin on it. It seems really cool. The films are like super popular. I know a lot of theaters are putting out pre-sale tickets. Everyone's getting costumes. Personally taking out my favorite, the Chewbacca costume. I think that'll be a really great show. And so yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think it's going to be a wonderful movie, and I can't wait to see how it lives up to the other films. But that is all we have today on TalkNado. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Julian VanDrunen.
And I'm Casey Whisler. Thanks for watching.